Hi everyone, Neko here with another recap. Today's show is about a young girl who is suddenly engaged with a mysterious boy from her past, watched over by his diminutive little sister. I hope you enjoy it. One morning after Kobeni Yonomori celebrates her birthday with her older sister Benio, her mother Akane announces the arrival of the mysterious Hakuya Mitsumine. Kobeni discovers that she and Hakuya have been arranged to be married, a fact that her family has kept hidden from her, and was determined by her grandfather. Meanwhile, Hakuya's younger sister Mashiro arrives to move in with them as she wishes to keep an eye on her older brother. After eating cake for the first time, Mashiro reveals that she and her brother used to live in the rural hills and are not used to life in the city. Benio begins to worry about the logistics of the household, causing Kobeni to panic and leave the house. But while she is getting groceries outside, she accidentally falls and is saved by Hakuya, who follows her to the store. The two unfortunately get into an incident, revealing Hakuya's lack of social skills, and Mashiro reveals that Hakuya is rather simple and has been raised from an early age to marry Kobeni. Meanwhile, a protective Benio constantly teases and frightens Mashiro. The next morning, Kobeni brings Hakuya to school and introduces him to her best friend Mayura. She also tells Hakuya to keep their engagement a secret at school, but is shocked to see both Hakuya and Kobeni have transferred into her class. Meanwhile, Mashiro is frightened by Benio's transformation from a wild and teasing older sister to a model student and student council president at school. She gets so frightened she runs away, and when Kobeni runs to find her, Hakuya comforts his new fiancée. The following days, Mashiro is constantly terrorized by Benio at home, and she attempts to find out how Benio is so popular at school. Mashiro also tries to support her brother by getting him to interact with Kobeni more, but her efforts prove unsuccessful. Mashiro wants to reveal Hakuya's secret history with Kobeni, which the pink-haired girl seems to have forgotten. But Hakuya orders her to keep the fact that he saved Kobeni from some unknown danger in the past a secret. Later, Mashiro watches aliens on the television and quickly becomes terrified. The other members of the house try to calm her down, but Mashiro's wild imagination gets the best of her. Meanwhile, Kobeni dreams that night of memories at a countryside shrine. The next day at school, Mashiro is still frightened that everyone at school seems to worship Benio for all her good works, and she determines that Benio must be a master manipulator. Benio starts to terrorize her, but she is saved by Nadeshiko, the student council vice president, who drags the president away. But in an outburst, Mashiro accidentally reveals that she and Hakuya are living. That night, Benio has a dream of Kobeni and Mashiro honoring her as the older sister, and she wakes up determined to make the dream a reality. Later at school, everyone is at gym class, where Kobeni proves she is incapable of physical activity, and Hakuya is so intimidating that other boys perform badly against him. At the end of gym class, Benio puts her plan into motion and invites Mashiro to have tea in the student council room. Meanwhile, Kobeni accompanies Hakuya to buy ingredients for dinner to attempt to discern some of his personality traits, since he has barely interacted with her so far. She later accidentally impresses Hakuya by surviving through a gauntlet of vicious shopping that overwhelms him. At home, Mashiro attempts to watch television instead of studying, but is reminded by Hakuya that they were sent a message from their family to keep their grades up. Meanwhile, Kobeni asks Benio for advice and wonders why her protective older sister doesn't reject her engagement. But Benio reveals that Kobeni has forgotten that Hakuya had previously saved her from falling off a cliff, and Kobeni feels guilty for not remembering anything. The next day, Kobeni is thinking about this revelation when she develops a fever and falls sick. While she recovers, Benio tells Mashiro and Hakuya that she secretly blames herself for Kobeni's accident, and that she was the one who should have been at the cliff that day. Benio tries to cook food for them, but after seeing the terrible results, Mashiro tries to wake up Kobeni to start cooking again. Kobeni still doesn't get better the next day, and Hakuya demands to stay at school with her to take care of her. But Benio and Mashiro persuade him to go to school. After school, Mashiro returns to take care of Kobeni, and they talk about her previous accident. Though when she struggles to speak to Hakuya, the boy confuses her hesitation with disgust and runs out of the house. Kobeni chases him down and expresses her gratitude to him, and she tells him that although she can't remember her accident, she is more open to their engagement, and she watches him smile for the first time. The next day at school, Kobeni discovers that she can somehow detect Hakuya's emotions now from his expressionless face, which causes her to panic. When they return home, Kobeni and Benio wonder about their guest's mysterious past, while Hakuya and Mashiro struggle with the news that someone from their family will be arriving to check up on them. The next day, Benio buys kids' pajamas for Mashiro, and after they fit perfectly, Kobeni asks Hakuya how old Mashiro really is. Although they try to hide Mashiro's real age so that she can go to high school, the siblings reveal that Mashiro is actually just 9 years old. Meanwhile, the siblings are worried about the upcoming visit, and they advise Kobeni to do everything they can to impress their family. Kobeni soon becomes worried about the potential visitor, so she decides to go shopping with Hakuya. She later splits up with him to run an errand and runs into a lost woman with traditional clothing. The woman has been traveling around the city experiencing city life, and she is surprised to find out that the woman, Shirayuki, is actually Hakuya and Mashiro's mother. After watching the brief family reunion, Shirayuki happily approves of Kobeni as a future bride due to her kindness, and the interaction sparks some memories within Kobeni of her time within the mountains. But the memories start to overwhelm her, so Hakuya has to take her to bed. Shirayuki later visits and inadvertently reveals to Kobeni that her family isn't completely human while comforting the sick girl. Shirayuki later leaves to go home, and Benio is surprised as she leaves by jumping across the rooftops. Kobeni later remembers that Hakuya might have been a dog when she first met him. The next day, Kobeni's mother Akane arrives back at home and she reveals that she always knew that Hakuya and Mashiro's family were not completely human, but that she is still very thankful that Hakuya saved Kobeni's life. At breakfast, the siblings confirm that they are only half human, but they refuse to elaborate about their alternative forms. Kobeni tries to get Hakuya to transform in front of her, but the boy refuses. Later at school, Kobeni unintentionally pets a sleeping Hakuya on the head and then runs away embarrassed. She later joins the other students in preparing for Valentine's Day, and Kobeni wonders if she should keep her engagement with Hakuya. She also makes some chocolate to give to Hakuya, but is too scared to give him the chocolate personally. She tries to meet him on the roof, but there are too many couples there, and after struggling the whole day, a sad Hakuya goes to the park depressed. Finally, Mayura visits the house that evening and gives Kobeni the perfect opportunity to give Hakuya her chocolate, which lifts him from his sadness. After school exams finish the following week, Kobeni and Mashiro watch as Benio interacts with Konoha, the secretary of the student council. But although Konoha greatly admires Benio, she is frustrated and jealous of Kobeni and Mashiro for their closeness with Benio. In particular, she is most jealous of Kobeni because the pink-haired girl is Benio's younger sister. As a result, Konoha constantly stalks and spies on them. Later, a jealous Konoha gets help from Nico, a member of the newspaper club, who agrees to find blackmail information on Kobeni and Mashiro. But her efforts are disrupted by Hakuya, who catches her in the act and deletes all of her photos. Later, Hakuya's grades have started to suffer, so the group decides to hold a study session to help bring his grades up. At the study session, Mashiro decides to take a break, but in a series of misshapes she confuses Nico's spying as an angry ghost stalking her. The next day, Konoha continues to stalk them and becomes angry at Mashiro's frustration towards Benio. Her emotional outbursts lead her to accidentally reveal herself to Kobeni and Mashiro. And later outside school, Konoha and Mashiro accidentally get into an argument over Benio's character. But their argument makes Mashiro suspicious of Konoha, and she wonders if they might actually be the same species. In fact, Konoha is also from the countryside and has recently moved to the city. That night, Mashiro discusses Konoha with Kobeni, and she reveals that many of their species have been driven from the countryside to move to the city. The next day at school, Konoha also wonders if Mashiro and Hakuya are from the countryside. Nico meets her for more information, and although Konoha tries to call off the blackmail attempt, the newspaper girl is able to distract Konoha with photos of Benio and change the subject. Meanwhile, Benio is haunted that Kobeni doesn't seem to admire her as much as when she was little, and she rants about her troubles with Nadeshiko. Later after school, the siblings, Kobeni and Mayura, go to the mall together, and while they are eating food, they are met by Nico, who introduces herself, but doesn't reveal that she is relaying information on them to Konoha. The next day, Mashiro goes to confront Konoha, and the two are secretly followed by Hakuya. On their way to the roof, they get into a squabble, culminating into a confrontation that eventually leads them to reveal that they are both partially non-human. A worried Kobeni tries to look for both of them and runs into Benio on the way, and when trying to keep her troubles away from her older sister, she accidentally shocks Benio into depression by dismissing her. Kobeni later finds Konoha with Mashiro and Hakuya, with all of them finally understanding that they are all Inugami. And since Konoha's mother told her to claim any male of her race, she demands that Hakuya marry her. And eavesdropping, Kobeni panics upon hearing this and runs away. While Hakuya chases after Kobeni, Mashiro informs Konoha that her brother can't marry her because Hakuya is already engaged to Kobeni. Hakuya asks if Kobeni is alright since she fell outside of the school while spying on them, and is confused when Kobeni is worried about Konoha because he is already married to her. But a spying Nico overhears them and starts to interrogate them about their relationship, remembering that she wanted the engagement to be kept a secret. Hakuya denies that they are dating, but Kobeni runs away with conflicting feelings about his denial of them being together. Meanwhile, Nico returns to Konoha with this new information, and Konoha celebrates because she might still have a chance with Hakuya. The next day, the Kobeni reiterates that she wishes to keep the engagement a secret, but now they have to handle Konoha, who knows about the engagement. Later that day, Kobeni asks Konoha to keep the betrothal a secret, and Konoha is confused because she thought that Kobeni might have been against the arranged marriage. A confused Kobeni starts to cry thinking about her relationship with Hakuya, which makes Konoha start to feel bad for her. Konoha later runs into Nico, who advises her to make friends with Mashiro and Kobeni so that she can be closer to Benio and Hakuya. Later that night, Kobeni tells Hakuya that she wanted the engagement a secret to stop rumors at school, not because she didn't want to go through with it. Then Mashiro celebrates because Hakuya and Kobeni are growing closer. But since they are growing closer, a grumpy Benio starts to distance herself from Hakuya. Meanwhile, Hakuya is disappointed when Kobeni fails to confess her feelings for him. Mashiro tries to repair the miscommunication between Hakuya and Kobeni, but the two of them are too embarrassed to express their true feelings with one another. Meanwhile at school, Konoha is happy to be growing closer to Benio, who approves of her new friendship with Kobeni. But the blonde-haired girl is conflicted about Kobeni's engagement with Hakuya, and wonders if Kobeni truly has feelings for Hakuya. Later Mashiro tries to set up situations for Kobeni and Hakuya to be alone, but her plans are foiled by Benio. Meanwhile, a guilty Konoha is able to get Nico to stop spying on Kobeni by distracting her with another idea for the school paper. And that night Mashiro reveals to Kobeni that Konoha probably doesn't have feelings for Hakuya, and that her interest in marrying him is because he is a male member of their species. The next day, Hakuya decides to go shopping for a present for Kobeni for White Day. He runs into Kobeni later, who gives him a matching handkerchief which brightens his day, but he is disappointed when he discovers that she also bought handkerchiefs for Benio and Mashiro as well. Hakuya finds himself troubled about selecting a gift for Kobeni to make amends for White Day. Meanwhile, Mashiro nearly exposes her powers in front of Nico, who becomes resolute in investigating the existence of a flying humanoid. Later, Mashiro proposes that Kobeni and Hakuya go on a date, but Kobeni transforms it into a day out with Mashiro. They have a fun time together in the city, which involves watching an alien movie. But after their outing, the wind causes Kobeni to notice a scar above Hakuya's right eye, and she quickly deduces that he received it while saving her. The siblings try to deny that Hakuya's scar was linked to Kobeni's accident, but they fail to convince the pink-haired girl. That night Mashiro tells Kobeni that Hakuya kept his scar a secret because above all else he wanted her not to blame herself for the accident that caused it. But the next morning, Hakuya and Mashiro receive another letter from their clan, and to Kobeni's surprise, she discovers that they have vanished, along with their belongings. Kobeni worries over Hakuya and Mashiro, and her only lead is a message stating they had returned to the mountains. Although Kobeni tries to go back to normal life, she can't stop thinking about the siblings, and Mayura encourages her to venture to the mountains herself to uncover the truth. After a train ride to the countryside, Kobeni hikes to the mountains to find them but quickly becomes exhausted. Meanwhile, Hakuya and Mashiro are gathering plants when Hakuya senses that Kobeni is in danger. They find the lost girl hiding from the snowstorm, and reveal to her that they were going to return soon and they went to the mountains to get some fresh vegetables. Unfortunately, the cold strikes Kobeni and Hakuya runs to get help while Kobeni goes to gather firewood. But when she is left alone, Kobeni becomes worried and she wanders out of the shelter looking for the siblings. The lost girl almost falls off a cliff, but is saved at the last minute by Hakuya just like in her memories. As the two bond over their adventure, they promise not to keep secrets from each other, and after reuniting with their families, return to their peaceful life in the city. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.